Good morning, students. In the introductory part of this chapter, I had shown you a few experiments which might have oriented you towards the importance of this chapter and its usage. Now, there is no point in dealing with the same sentences which is there in the textbook, which you can read and you are reading very nicely. So what I have done is I will try to take you to the examiner's point of view, in what way these textual points are converted into questions. From this chapter, 4 marks questions generally come. Now say if the question has to come from section 5.1, which is titled as adsorption, then how an examiner would have designed 4 marks question. So you can see the question on the board. The first question from the surface chemistry chapter 5, section 5.1, the name of which is adsorption. There are 3 questions and they are designed in such a way that if you write the right answer, then you will be getting 4 marks. So the first question is adsorption. So take care, the sentences which are there in the NCERT book, they are considered as value points. So if you write any other opinion, then you may not get the full marks. So whatever you know, if that is not from the NCERT book, please unlearn that if you want to score good marks. But if you want to score good marks in the board examination, learn whatever is there in the NCERT book. So it is time that you need to unlearn your opinion and learn real science. So the first answer for define adsorption would be adsorption is accumulation of adsorbate particles on the surface of any adsorbent. Now the second question is what is desorption? So you have to change the paragraph and write and underline this properly. Change the paragraph. This is A. Either you can give B over here and then start. Desorption is removal of adsorbed particles from the surface of the adsorbent due to increase in temperature or decrease in pressure on adsorbate. Now what is adsorbent and adsorbate? Say for example, if color gets adsorbed on this chalk, then this chalk is adsorbent, B-A-N-T, and the color is adsorbate. Alright. Now desorption takes place very easily when it is physical adsorption. That means the force of attraction between the adsorbent and the adsorbate is purely van der Waals force of attraction or any force of attraction of that nature. But if the force of attraction is like that of a chemical bond, then it is called as chemisorption. In that case, desorption can take place only when temperature is increased or the pressure on the particles, generally gases on the adsorbent, is decreased. At that time, desorption will take place. Now if you write these two sentences correctly without any doubt, then the examiner will put one tick mark over here and one tick mark over here and will give you 1 mark like this. 1 mark, 1 mark. Now 4 points will have to be written, half marks of each, for examples of adsorption in action. So what are the different examples of adsorption in action? I had shown you yesterday in the experiment. Throughout this chapter, I will ask you to recall those experiments, and based on those experiments, you will be able to remember the concepts. Since I am not writing on the answer script and I am writing on the green board, I have to erase this part and start with the rest part of the answer. Else, if you are using a full scape paper or a register, you can write below, which I cannot do right now. So, the third part of the question was examples of adsorption, inaction are, then since you are writing it as C, then start subpoints as Roman number 1. Decrease in the pressure of gases in a vessel inside which any activated adsorbent is added. What happens? Say for example, in a vessel, if oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, these gases are there, then these gases will move with high kinetic energy and will collide with the wall of the container, giving or causing a pressure on the wall of the container. Now, if any activated adsorbent, the meaning of activated means the surface of which is ready for adsorbing the gases. How the surface will become active? First of all, there should be no other particles inside the pores of the adsorbent. Second, if the adsorbent is heated so that the moisture inside in the adsorbent is not there. Third, if the adsorbent is ground into fine powder, then its surface area will increase. So there are three ways in which we can activate an adsorbent. First, by heating it and removing its moisture, by ensuring that no previous adsorbate is present, and third, by grounding it or grinding it into powder form so that its surface area increases. So in this way, if any activated adsorbent is added into that vessel, then the gaseous particles get trapped into the pores of that adsorbent. As a result, they are not able to move with high kinetic energy and the pressure reduces. This much the examiner will understand, but to save time, you can write in your points like this. Second, removal of color of methylene blue when any adsorbent is added. Fourth, removal of yellow impurities from sugar to make it shiny white colored. By adding activated bone charcoal. What is bone charcoal? When the animal bones, they are made to undergo incomplete combustion or heated, then what happens? The carboniferous particle in the bone that remains inside and the other volatile matters, they escape out. The black colored remnant, when the bone or the animal wastes are calcined, then it forms charcoal. The same can be done with the help of wood also. It will be called as wood charcoal. Else it can be done with the bones of dead animals. It's called as bone charcoal. In case of sugar, bone charcoal is found to be very effective in removing the yellow colored substance which we see in the natural sugar or the impure sugar, which in Hindi we call as khand, whereas in English we call as impure sugar. So the sugar which we get in the manufactured manner, which looks very much white and shiny, is actually made by removing the colors from it by treating it with bone charcoal. But there are many industries which prefers to use wood charcoal also and other chemical adsorbents too. And the fourth point is, I have no option other than erasing this now. Removal of moisture content using silica gel in desiccators, packed empty bottles, or electronic items. I am sure you might have seen that when you purchase water bottle or casserole or any electronic device, you will find that there will be a small bag in which some granular particles are there, in which danger sign is written and it is instructed that it is not for consumption. Particularly in water bottle, those grains are available and these grains are nothing but silica gel. The purpose of this silica gel is to keep the interior of the vessel or the container or cascade in which the electronic items are there dry, because the moisture can cause either germination of germs, growth of germs, foul smell, or can also cause rusting or spoilage of the electronic items. So if you want to keep something moisture free, then small piece of silica gel in that place will do help to remove the moisture from that place. Example, say for example, if you are near the coastal area and if you have table salt, you will find that in the winter season the table salt becomes moist. The salt absorbs moisture and becomes hygroscopic. Basically, NaCl, which is analytical grade, is not hygroscopic in nature. If you will take pure sodium chloride as table salt, then moisture will not be absorbed. But the salt which we use on the table for eating purpose is not pure sodium chloride. It contains traces of magnesium chloride too. Because of the presence of this magnesium chloride, this salt behaves like a hygroscopic substance. I am saying hygroscopic substance, the substance which can absorb moisture from the surrounding. Now, to prevent absorption of moisture from salt, we can put some cereal grains into that salt cellar. By putting some cereals into the salt cellar, the cereals will prefer to absorb the moisture being organic seeds rather than the inorganic salt. In that way, we can keep the salt in the salt cellar for longer time without making it moist. So this was one of the examples. Maybe I have given you 5 examples in my lecture, but I have written 4 points over here in which you can get half marks each, which will count to be of 2 marks now. This is of half marks. These of half marks, these of half marks, these of half marks, and the one which I erased was of 1 marks. So together it will count for your 4 marks, and you will get 4 marks out of 4 marks if you can write the answers in proper points. Understanding is one aspect while you read the book, and recalling the right points, value points when you are asked question in the examination is another thing. So I urge you to make notes in your rough paper or your full scape paper or classwork notebook and keep on revising that, so that if in the exam you are asked about certain points to be written, you don't jot down your opinion but the points which are there in your textbook based on which the marking schemes are made. Hope my points are clear and you will be able to read further this chapter from the examiner's point of view. Thank you.